For our second snow, well, we're going to call this one a snow lady because we're going to put some hair on her. But we're doing her exactly the same as the other one, except I'm going to reverse the colors of the hat and scarf. So just to get you up to this point, paint your face and body the same as the previous snowman. The hat, you're going to base the top of the hat in white, just one layer is good, and then go over that with a layer of your yellow, your bright yellow. And then on the hat brim, I just did the floats of our blue mix, which was the phthalo blue plus a touch of black. So you can see I just started floating from the outer edge on each side and worked towards the center and kept a lighter area up in here. And you'll need probably 2, maybe 3 floats of that to build up some value. So the next thing I'm going to do is, on the scarf, I just used the background color from the star. It was the white with a little bit of blue in it. And then I did the stripes on the scarf in a wash of our blue mix that we did on the hat brim. So get to that point and also float. I haven't done this yet, but you can float in your scarf tails that are going to be back here, and I think we'll just keep them on the same side as the other one. So just follow your pattern for this. On this one also, I happened to, where I positioned the star on this one, since I had moved it up a little closer to the tip, the curly Q on the top of our hat just perfectly went up into the center of that star. So I'm not going to extend that above the star. I'm just going to let the star be the little kind of tassel on the end of the hat. So work up to that point, and then we'll come back and work on the red on the hat and do a few more of the details. I've went ahead and painted in the snowman's face. This is the same techniques that we used on the other snowman. I've painted the stars, the black base coat, then dry brushed the golden, splendid gold over top is what I use. You can use glorious gold or any metallic gold that you have works. And the black showing through to give it kind of an antique look. I've added red polka dots to the scarf tails. We used blue on the other one, and we're again reversing the colors. The red stripes, the wide blue stripes and narrow red stripes on this one versus just the opposite on the other snowman. And now we're going to work on the top of the hat, which we based with yellow. And now we're going to side load with a bright red to give the overall color of the hat a red. The yellow is going to glow through as our highlight color. So I'm going to side load a brush. I'm again using a little 1/4 inch angle, but use whatever type of brush you like to do for floated color. And we're going to just work that red along all the edges of the hat. To the opposite side. Sorry, getting out of camera range. I'm just floating red, the bright red over top of the yellow. And then come along this little skinny area at the top. You can float some red over that too. I'm just using just the tip of my brush, so because this is so narrow. And we'll need 2 to 3 coats of this red to build up our color. And we'll go along this top of the hat band. Now I want to go back and add some more shading to the scarf. Our blue stripes are very transparent. It's just a wash of color. So I want to go back and add a little stronger shading on the top and bottom of the scarf and the sides. So again, we're going to side load with phthalo blue with a touch of black. And that black just tones that blue down a little bit. Let's work out here on this edge on both sides. And then we're going to come along the top and bottom of this scarf. So I'm going to flip that over and then work along the bottom edge. And where those two kind of meet in the middle, you can take a little mop brush and just soften that wet edge. I also want to float a little of that color here on over the inner edge of the scarf tail, so that we can tone down those red dots just a little bit on the inside. And again, if you get a hard edge, just tap it with your mop brush to soften that out. And we're going to dry brush over that also. Let's do one more float over the scarf. And we might want to do one more float over the edge of that hat band. Just to darken that shading just a little bit more. Just each side. Mop that out a little bit. And one more time over the scarf. Flip it over and do the bottom edge. Soften where they meet in the center. Now that the top of our hat's dry, we can go back and add another layer of red over top of what's going to be the red part of our hat. Just be careful when you're doing these floats that, like here on the sides, that one edge is dry before you try to do a float that overlaps it. I just noticed right there I had a little spot that was probably a little wet. And if you're not careful, you can lift those floats and they'll get kind of blotchy. Let's add some dry brushing to our scarf, and we'll do the dry brush the highlights on the blue areas. So we're going to use the number 8 round sable brush, and again work that paint into the brush on your palette. Brush it on a paper towel to make sure you don't have any globs on it. And then you're going to, here on the top of the hat, we're going to kind of just work in a circle. And put your brush down first where you want the strongest highlight to be, and then work out around it, kind of radiate out in a circle. So as you move away from that center spot, your brush will have less paint on it, and it'll just graduate out to blend into the darker shading. And you can also vary the pressure of how hard you push your brush down. Excuse me. I also want to do that type of dry brushing out here on the tails of the scarf to soften out those red dots. We don't want them to be so prominent out here. And this will kind of blend them down into the scarf. Set them into the background. Okay, the next thing we want to do is the scarf, the front of the scarf. A little more white paint. And again, this time we're going to work horizontally versus in a circle. You can go back after you get that first down and then just very lightly circle all the way across to blend those edges out. The top of our hat still needs some more work. Let's do just a wash of red over here in the center. I want that yellow to show through, but it's coming through just a little too much. So I'm just doing a real light wash of color over that center area. And you can take your mop brush and tap that out. And soften that down. We'll let that dry, and then we'll do a little more shading and some dry brush highlighting on that. You need to trace your button on the front of the scarf and base that with white. And then we'll finish up the final details. Okay, we've got the heart based in with white, and then I want you to put base over that again with the bright yellow. And once that's dry, we're going to float the red over it like we've done our other red areas. So I'm just floating bright red over top of the yellow on each side. And we want some of the yellow to stay visible in the center for our highlight. Okay, let that dry and do one more coat over that. Looks like my paint underneath was not quite dry enough, but that'll be good. Just adds to the highlight. Now up on the hat up here, I think we need to do some more shading on this red. And to do that, we're going to use our purple that we mixed up earlier. And that was a mix of the phthalo blue plus some of the naphthol red. And you can play with that mix. You probably need a little more red than blue because that blue's so intense. But that will give you a nice deep purple. That's a nice shading color for reds and blues. So we're just going to keep this color right out here on the edges. I don't want to go all the way up, just a little bit there on the edge and let it trail out. We can add a little bit here up by the star. Just kind of use this sparingly. It's just a nice accent color. We'll put some here under where our little loop happens. And you can do that on top and bottom. And here on our other side. Again, just kind of lift your brush up to the chisel edge and let that just feather out to nothing. But you can see that gives us a lot more depth on the sides. We can even use a little bit of this on the scarf sides. Put a little bit on your snowman. This is going to be our sort of accent color, I guess. Just here and there in the shadows. You want to add a little bit out here on the edges of your star, would be also good. So here. our heart's done, we can put just a tiny bit on it to shade that, maybe one side of it. Don't do both sides. We don't want it to get too dull looking. We're going to go back to our red, and I'm going to add another layer of red on the right side of this heart, where my paint wasn't quite dry. Brightens that up a little bit. We want to add our buttonholes to the button. They're going to be just plain black. You can use a small round or a liner brush, just two dots, maybe 1/8 of an inch apart. We'll let those dry. While we're letting that dry, you can go ahead and do your liner work in black, and that's using the 20-aught liner. You can find mine. And you're going to mix your black ink to an inky consistency with some water. You want to be able to get a really nice fine tip on that brush. And then you can just go along, and any place you want to emphasize the design and crisp up the edges, just do some loose outlining. This isn't a solid line, and I'm not exactly following the edge. Just, break it and just let it flow. It looks much more natural and organic if you don't try to tightly outline every little bit of your design. Come up here and do your hat. Well, you can see how, I bounce off the edges of the design, or like around here, and it's very loose. It's just more the suggestion of outlining. I'm going to just add some little detail to your work. Okay, we'll do the stitching on the button, and that is just some gray first. We'll do gray, and once that dries, you can sketch over that with a little bit of white. Okay, I forgot to outline the nose. I just noticed that. And the mouth and the nose. On the nose, I did pull some little curved lines, kind of like the sections of a carrot. If you look at a carrot, there's all kinds of little ridges. So I'm just adding some little broken lines to indicate those little ridges. They're not all the same length or distance apart, just again, a little more detail. After I finished the other one, you know, I decided I wanted a little more detail on this hatband, so I added a snowflake up there. And I did that with white. I just, again, mixed a little bit of water with the white so that it flows off the brush easily. And snowflakes have 6 sides, so I do a straight line kind of from, I'm angling it, it's not straight up and down, it's kind of following the angle of the hatband so that it's, I guess, perpendicular to that. And then, so that's 2 of your sides, and then I'm going to put an X over the middle of that to make the other 4 sides. So we have 6 sides to the snowflake. So aim to cross in the middle. Cross again. And then you can decorate your snowflake with all kinds of little dots and dashes. So say if we do a dot in the center and maybe a little triangle of dots on the tips. I want to keep these just very fine and delicate. And as you can see, I'm just using the tip of my 20-aught liner brush to do this. Maybe we want to add some dots around that center. We can do a little crossbars partway up here. Maybe add some little dots across that one where it crosses the line, and one on each edge. So you can use your imagination just to decorate your snowflake the way you want to. That just gives like a little lacy accent to his hatband, her hatband. I keep saying him, but this one is a her because we're going to put some hair on her. So to do the hair, I think we've got one more thing. Let's finish up we've got some white. Let's finish up those threads on the button. So I'm just add a little highlight to that. Okay, on to the hair. I'm just going to create some values of hair. And I want to keep her hair to the outer edges and maybe a little bit here in the center. And I've got black paint on my brush, and I've mixed a little water with it so that it, again, is kind of inky. We're just using the 20-aught liner. And I'm going to start right up against her hatband and just start doing little zigzaggy strokes. And these aren't just even zigzags, they're just kind of irregular. And I'm going to just pull a few here on the side, like little hair that's popping out from underneath her hatband. You don't want to do too much, so I've done, say, 5 on that side. I'm going to come over on this side and do the same thing. Kind of radiate them out in different directions so that they fill in the space a little bit. We'll put a little one down here. Maybe a little one over here. And then I'm looking at my drawing to see where I had placed them. I had a couple, like 3 right here in the center of her forehead. It's one that comes down a little longer towards the center of her eyes, and maybe some that angle out from there. So that makes her look a little more like a girl. Now you can come back on those, and these aren't going to be exact. We're not trying to outline them, but I want to come back with a little lighter value. So I'm going to use our gray mix, maybe lighten it up with a touch of white, and just add a few more that are a little lighter value in there. I don't want to fill in too much, but just gives a little more, makes it look like a little more is going on there. And then you could come back again, trying to use, say, 3 values. We're going to come back with some white and just hit a couple of white ones here. These are very subtle. You don't want the white to jump out too much. And let these crisscross. You don't want them all separate. I'm letting them overlap each other. Okay, so there we go. She's got some hair. I see one little spot I was planning to do and I forgot. I was going to dry brush a little bit of highlight on the center of that hat with some white. So I'm just going to use that round sable, put a little bit of white, and just put a little bit of highlight on that top of that hat. You can go right over the snowflake. As long as your snowflake's dry, it's not going to hurt that. Okay, so I'll pop that out just a little bit more. So now I think everything's done. You can put your paper towel over it and add some flecked snow to the background and let it dry and varnish and get ready to hang it. These would look cute on a grapevine wreath, or you can hang them on a tree. So they'd make cute package decorations. You know, just use your imagination. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and we'll come back with another one next month.